Hello, my name's Julie Marsh and I'm a Senior Associate Solicitor at Boys Turner. I often work with families that have a child or children who have additional needs and who need support to be the best parent they can in really challenging circumstances. Whilst I'm in awe most of the time seeing how parents and carers of children and young people with these needs adapt and cope, I also know too well that there can be times when additional support is needed. The challenge is finding the right support. In Berkshire, there are some great organisations offering wonderful support and help to parents who are struggling, who want that additional support and guidance. Today, I'm talking to Tess Eagles from Parenting Special Children about the work the charity does and the support that it can offer. Hi Tess, it's great to see you today. Thank you for joining me.
Hi Julie.
Thanks for joining us to tell us a bit more about Parenting Special Children. Could you start by telling us a bit about the charity and the work that it does?
Yes, certainly. Parenting Special Children is a Berkshire-based charity. We were founded 14 years ago by Ruth Pearce, who is now our CEO. 14 years ago, Ruth found that there was no or little help for parents when they had a diagnosis of a child with special needs. This could be anything from autism, ADHD, trauma and attachment. So she set up the charity. 14 years later, and we're going from strength to strength. We provide workshops, specialist support groups, a dedicated helpline, a trauma and attachment service, and also children's projects.
That's great. And does a parent or child need to have a formal diagnosis for that child or young person to be able to access the support the charity can offer?
So the answer is yes and no. No, if a parent just wants to come onto our workshops, they can look at our website and book onto any of our numerous workshops. However, if a child, for example, wanted to access one of our children's services, then yes, a diagnosis would be required.
And I know, as you mentioned there, you run workshops for parents. Can you tell me a bit about them and the topics that you tend to cover with those?
Yes, certainly. One of our most popular workshops is all based around pre-assessment and post-assessment. As you can imagine, for a parent, that is when they are going to various meetings, hospitals, maybe CAMs, talking to schools, it's just a complete minefield. Nobody knows where to turn. That's when Parenting Special Children come in. So our workshops provide help and advice and support on pre-assessment and then also on post-assessment. We also run workshops on sleep. Issues around sleep, as you can imagine, in COVID-19 has intensified. And as part of our sleep service, we also go on to offer sleep assessments and individual sleep plans. Workshops are also around sensory processing disorder, which once again for parents, when you have a diagnosis, trying to understand what sensory processing actually means and what it means for your child and how you can help them.
And I regularly hear from the families that I work with how isolated they feel. Can you tell me a bit more about how Parenting Special Children as a charity looks to address that?
Yes. One of the things about the charity is we're always listening to our families. We're actually a parent-led charity, and 95% of everyone who works, from the practitioners to the trustees, have a child with special needs themselves, which means that we understand our families. And as part of that, we offer support groups. We offer support groups in the most deprived areas of Berkshire, but we also offer support groups to dad and male carers. One of those areas that people don't necessarily think of, the dad and the male carers, and also to kinship carers. Now, lots of people say, what is a kinship carer? So a kinship carer could be a grandmother, an aunt, an uncle who are suddenly asked to take care of their young granddaughter, grandson who is being taken into care. Now, kinship carers, if we could just take an example maybe of a 60-year-old man and woman who suddenly one day have that phone call saying, can they look after their grandson and granddaughter? Their whole life may be turned upside down. They may have been planning on retirement, and suddenly they're looking after a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old. And that 3-year-old and 4-year-old will have attachment issues and trauma issues. Our support groups have been absolutely invaluable, especially during COVID-19. On one of our support groups, which, as you can imagine, we took online, as soon as everybody came onto the Zoom call, they just started crying because they felt so isolated and alone. And then seeing those familiar faces. And the support group are all led by our trained practitioners. Some of our case studies show it's not just about that support group as well, attending each week. It's about our practitioners that go over and above to help those families in whichever way is needed. And that could be working with other organisations such as Berkshire Women's Aid or IAS to make sure that those families have the support they need.
So you mentioned there about moving some of the workshops online. How have things changed for the charity as a result of COVID-19?
As you can imagine, everything changed. In the business plan, Parenting Special Children was looking to go online at some point in the future. They were thinking maybe in a year's time. And also it was a little bit frightening. When COVID started, within 3 weeks, all of our workshops went online. In addition to that, we actually developed new workshops, for example, managing challenging behaviours during COVID, managing extra sleep and anxiety during COVID. At the moment, we're running transitioning back to school in September because we recognise the help and support that all of our parents and families need now. To give you an idea of how hard everybody has been working at this charity, we ran 95 workshops in 3 months, some nights running more than one workshop concurrently. Also, we have supported 1,500 families. It has been a difficult time, but everyone has gone over and above because we need to support our families. For our families, everything has been magnified. No respite, hospital appointments disrupted. As you mentioned earlier, that social isolation, we've seen a 50% increase in helpline calls, with a lot of our families just struggling to cope with the issues such as homeschooling, financial pressures at the moment. It has been very hard and very tough, and we have been there every single step of the way supporting our families.
It's phenomenal to hear, about that kind of response and that kind of support, and great to hear that the charity was able to adapt so quickly and move online and still be able to offer such a great deal of support, and to people who perhaps wouldn't normally come to you for help, but obviously in the circumstances needed that extra support. What does the future hold now for the charity, and how do you envisage the services that the charity can offer developing further?
The last 3 months have absolutely shown us the benefits of being online. Quite a few of the parents have said to us that in the past it's been very difficult to access some of our services, just simply because how do you find a babysitter? How do you find the time? Actually, by the evening, a lot of parents are very tired because looking after a child with special needs is a full-time job. So the future holds for us. We are definitely going to continue with our online workshops. We hope to also be back face-to-face at some point. But another point we are realising is for our commissioning service, so we commission to schools and different councils, that actually we can broaden our horizons, that we can look to neighbouring counties. We're also thinking a little bit outside the box. For example, recently we've done an online sleep presentation that was free, but now there is a small charge for it. So I can put the link on and you can go and have a look if you're interested in sleep. And it was downloaded by someone in America. So the world is your oyster, as the saying goes, and we will definitely be looking at our business plan to see how we can adapt more online services to be able to reach more vulnerable families.
And I think everybody now is looking to move online so that the access is easier and it can be done at any time, so it's much more convenient. So if parents do find that little slot in the day, that they can log on and have a quick look and get some tips and help and advice and support. In the current climate, with so many people working remotely and the aftermath of COVID-19 just beginning to be appreciated and understood, albeit we're not necessarily out of the woods yet, I know it can be really hard to raise funds and support so you can continue to do the amazing work that you do. How can people look to support parenting special children at this time?
So there are two ways that people can support us at the moment. First of all, obviously, look at our COVID funding. So we have a COVID campaign and donate to that. And secondly, we are running the Big Give campaign and we are looking for pledges to be eligible for match champion funding. What we also need, Julie, is we need to engage with local businesses. So we're looking for any local businesses that would like to support a local charity, because it's not just now in COVID-19. We recognise that our families are going to struggle to transition to a new normal. So we are looking already for September to December at how we can support our families. And one of our new projects is one-to-one family support for our more complex families that need additional support. So that's our helpline, our workshops, our sleep service, and working directly with a practitioner on a one-to-one basis.
Okay, well, we very much hope that you can continue to receive the support so that you can continue to do the great work that you do. It's been really, really great to learn more about the charity today, and it's really exciting to hear about how you've developed, about what you can offer despite all the challenges that COVID-19 has presented, and what the future holds. Thank you very much for joining me, and I look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Thank you, Julie.